Hello, everybody. How's it going out there? Love it. Love the enthusiasm. I know it's a little hot, so I hope everyone's hydrating. Get that hydration game on. Well, we are so excited to have you here for our afternoon sessions. We have a ton of incredible content for you here on stage one. And to kick us off, we have an amazing speaker who's going to talk about a topic that I promise is relevant to every single Pendo customer. That's right, all of you. And as a CSM, I can tell you, I've had a lot of discussion around this topic myself. Which reminds me, I should probably tell you who I am. I'm Elise Segler. I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager at Pendo, and I'll be emceeing today. To kick us off, we have the incredible Lisa Hebert coming at us as a Senior Director of Product Management for NantHealth, and she's going to talk to us about using collaboration to make an internal case for Pendo. So let's give Lisa a big welcome, everybody.
Hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Okay, just making sure. So thank you so much for attending my session. My name is Lisa Hebert. I am the Senior Director of Product Management at NantHealth. And within NantHealth, I head up a division who handles a payer provider collaboration platform. So think of it as SaaS-based business, but our entire portfolio is much larger than that. And when we talk about collaboration, we kind of have to kick back a little bit and talk about what it means for our organization. And so collaboration within our organization is one of our core aspects of our DNA. We always like to call it part of our DNA because it's part of our core values. So when you think about that, it means that no matter what we work on, how we interact with each other, and what we do as a team, we are always collaborating. And with that, we need to talk about why it's so important and what it means for everybody else that we work with across all of our departments, across our enterprise, and also with our clients and users. So something about what we have when we talk about the DNA, we have a passion for collaboration, right? And this means that we have the need for a cross-functional open dialogue within our organizations. We work really hard to ensure that we have that kind of open conversation, that we're able to have those hard conversations that nobody really wants to have. And it allows us to be able to talk about what we need to do, what we should be doing, and how we're going to move and do better. And as always, when you're thinking about talking to others and working in collaboration, it's really about backing up your positions with your data. So all of your tooling, not just what you have with Pendo, but also the tooling that you're using internally, and bringing all of those sources together and put it into so you can back up your positions. So you're making really well-informed decisions, you're moving the product in the right places, and as an organization, you're growing and evolving. So when we think about that, we think about a number of things, right? So why is that important? It's kind of a no-brainer, but a lot of organizations struggle with collaboration. They struggle with these concepts of really engaging all of their groups. And so it's about talking to your peers, talking to your colleagues, and breaking down those silos. And so let me give you an example. So as we think about it, by collaborating with your other peers and your colleagues, your stakeholders, your executive team, you're able to get a better perspective on what you're trying to do. And with that, you're able to get the knowledge and depth that they all bring to the table, because you're not going to be the smartest person in the room, but you are going to be the person with the idea who needs that feedback from your other colleagues. In addition, we all know this. We come into a room, we've got all this baggage and bias with us. By collaborating with our peers, we're able to distill out what we're really trying to get at and break down that bias that we naturally bring forth. And that's a huge thing, because that bias can color all of your decision making. When you do just those first three things, you're able to center around that common goal. That common goal is what's going to move you forward. And that common goal for our organization was how we brought everybody together to buy Pendo for NantHealth. This helped us reduce the friction and eliminate the silos within our organization, and allowed us to really operate as a cohesive team to buy tooling, implement tooling that benefits the entire organization, not just product, not just customer success, but the entire organization. So let me give you a little story. I always like to say this. When we were making the case for Pendo, it started as organically as I had an idea that I really wanted in-product guides, right? I wanted to be able to show off to users the new features we were rolling out. And we didn't have a really good way of doing that. It was going to be a lot of custom development. There was always a discussion with our engineering team over build versus buy. And it was really hard to all center around what the real need was. So we started having these conversations. I started reaching out to my colleagues in other groups, right? So I reached out to customer success, customer service. I bring my engineering, my architecture team in, and we talk about, well, how can we do this one use case? And as we were talking about it, we started breaking it down saying, there's actually more here that we need. Hey, do you know if we can actually track this too? It's not just about positioning the information and make sure users see the new features, but it's really about, are they seeing the features? Can we actually track and view that? Can we actually see the data? Are we being successful with these features? Are they being adopted? And so once that started happening, it was like a snowball effect, right? We opened the door and we started saying, well, what else do we need? We need better user analytics, right? And so I love to show this as IMs because that's what it really started in as. It was an idea that we threw over an IM. We're all in teams and chats all over the place, Slack channels, and then it snowballed. And we got more and more IMs coming out of the woodwork. And it came into, we need better data analytics. We're using this product today. It's really not meaning it's really hard to work with. Or it came into, a client has a really specific use case, and it's going to take us 6 months to get that data out of our system because we've got to build all these custom events. That's really tough for you. So when we think about building that use case, we started kind of working through with each of the individual groups about the things that they were thinking of around user interaction and user behavior and analytics. And with that, we started centering on that common goal. So we started writing down all these things into a business case template, right? We all have to do them. It all justifies why you're going to be making this purchase, but also starts laying the foundation and the groundwork for how you're going to implement the solution as well. And so as each of the items came through, our teams worked together and we created, I don't know, it had to be like 15, 20-page deck of all the different use cases that we were struggling to do today with this disparate set of tooling that we had, or something we couldn't even do because we didn't have the right tools. And so we worked through that. And we provided each other that support and peace of mind that we were capturing it all in this worksheet, that we were saying what the use cases were, what are the solutions, who benefits, what are the ROI was, and how are we going to measure success on this if we were able to implement. And we did all of this work and we presented to our executive team, right? And they said yes. But here's the gotchas. When I talk about that perspective and that bias and a little bit of that siloed personas that come through, well, it's because we bring years and years and years of baggage. Collaboration is hard. It is not as easy as we like to pretend it is. We can say, oh, just go collaborate, go talk to people. People really struggle with opening up, right? And so they have a hard time letting go of a lot of their assumptions, the preconceived notions of why something needs to be the way it is, their existing process because it works just for them, but it doesn't work for anybody else. And they have a lot of experience of doing different things, and that change is really difficult for them, right? They're hard to open up. We also like to think we know the answers. We don't know the answers. Sometimes we don't even know the right questions. And so when we started going through this business case, we started finding out we had a lot of skeletons in our closet. We had a tremendous amount of dirty laundry that we were airing out, and it made people uncomfortable. They had a really hard time with opening up to that level. And that's why collaboration is so important. It's like the foundation of moving your organization forward, because you have to be able to get that stuff out, recognize it, and plan on how you're going to address it moving forward, right? And that's a crux. That's really hard for organizations to do. Sometimes they'll say, it's really hard, not going to do it, we'll plan for it next year, right? We're going to kick that can next year. We don't have funding for it, we're going to wait next year. Well, that's a problem when your organization's struggling to really understand your users, is struggling to communicate effectively with your users, and really hard for us. So when we started doing that, opening that up, we were able to get those skeletons out of our closets, admit to the fact that our spreadsheets were wrong, what we were using wasn't good, the data was bad, and all of the stuff we wanted to do, we were having a really hard time doing. We couldn't easily post messages on our portal for our users to be able to see when one of our client systems were down, or when we needed to make a change and post something and be nimble. And that was a massive challenge for us. And it was really hard to let go of that baggage because we were so used to working in dysfunctional way that doing this whole process of collaborating on this business case made us recognize those issues of how we had to move forward. And it allowed us to kind of align and get understood for the first time. And that's a major success for us, but it's also how we look at the rest of our organization. It's how we do our product road mapping. It's how we work through prioritization, where we work together as a cohesive team, no matter how difficult that conversation is, and lay it all out there, and then talk about, well, what's the most important priority? So, thinking about all of those things that are really, really difficult, right? And moving that forward, there's a lot of aha moments, right? You go through this process and you get into what does that really mean, right? And so for us, that meant the future was going to be bright. There's a lot of things that we're going to be able to do, right? We're actually all talking the same language for the first time in a long time. And Pendo did this for us. It wasn't that we weren't talking before. It wasn't that we really struggled together as a whole team, but we needed a common goal. We needed that common thing that was going to enable us to all speak about what that one thing we were all going after, right? And that's where the collaboration really fit in. It was around us all centering around that common goal. And so that's the big thing with collaboration. It's not about just talking and opening up that conversation, but also as you're going through business cases, it's aligning to that single common goal. For us, we distilled it up. We distilled it up to, we need better user data. Our user data today is awful. It's not consistent, and we need it to be in our hands, not in the data stores we have that we've got to wait cycles to get reports pulled out and then put it into Power BI and analyze it. We need more intuitive tooling so we can see real time what's really going on our portal. So when something goes down, we immediately can see a spike in utilization in different areas, or we can track how many times users are going to the help menu versus calling into the call center. And that was difficult for us. So by coming into that common goal, where we all recognized that the core of what we're trying to do is get better user interaction data and better user interaction as a whole, it allowed us to all center on that. And that was the fundamental piece of why our business case got approved, is because we all could identify the one massive thing that we're going to try to achieve here. So when we think about collaboration and identifying that common goal, we are identifying and focusing for the first time. All those use cases are now all there and ready for implementation, right? They're all going to be there. You're going to lay them out. You're going to implement them using Pendo. And so we're going to be able to interact really easily with our users. And it's not going to be an engineering effort that's going to take 6 or 12 weeks to get out to production. We're going to do it in 2 hours. It's a big change. The ROI in that is huge. We're also going to identify all the solutions, right, that we can start doing and implementing based on the fact that we all center around this common goal. We can start piecing together the bigger picture. So now we have all of this data, really interesting user data we can start dissecting and using in different ways and marrying it with all of the rest of our data sets. So we work in healthcare IT. And so we have a lot of really interesting data about how our users are interacting with our customers. And that information is really critical to the evolution of health IT. How are they reacting? How are they using things? And in the times of COVID, we've seen direct correlations based on the ebb and flow of the pandemic, how users are interacting with systems and how they're interacting with our customers, which are health insurance payers. So it's a huge, interesting kind of world when you think about all of the pieces that got pulled together when we all centered on that common goal. Along all of this, we also had expected outcomes, right? As part of your business case, you've got to outline what do you expect to achieve, right? Where is your ROI going to be? How are you going to justify continuing to fund this year over year? It's a big deal. My CFO, he's tough. He puts us through the ringer. And so we had to outline what that ROI was going to be. What did we expect in it? And how are we going to measure that? So we're going to measure an interaction. Were we going to measure it by ticket deflection? By increased NPS scores, right? Because we're introducing more usability, we're getting better feedback from our users, and we're actually be able to manage and monitor their progress. So it was a big success and win. So what did that do for us, right? I think about the aha moments and the centering around the common goals. There was a lot of things that we implemented year one. We are newer customers for Pendo. We've been together for 18 months, and it was, I don't know, 24 months sales cycle before we got approval to move forward. It was difficult. And once we implemented, I can personally tell you, it was nerve-wracking, right? What were we really going to see? How were we really going to leverage this? What were we going to change in our process to take advantage of this and kind of shake off all the other stuff that we were doing? And we had a lot of wins. I'll give you a couple examples. So we have a better understanding of our users' behavior today, and this is really fundamental, and all of you in products will probably laugh at this one. So about 18 months ago, we redid our main page header navigation, right? Your typical menu, we refreshed it. It had been a long time since we had done that. So we did a whole UI exercise. It's gorgeous, looks really, really pretty. And on the old main navigation, the sign out button was very clear. It was on the top of the page. Users knew exactly where to go. And as part of the new design, we thought, geez, you know what? We're going to collapse everything. So users, everybody's getting very much used to like these embedded, drop downs and buttons are being removed. Make it a little bit more seamless. And nobody clicks sign out. Nobody clicks sign out. Everybody who's modern, especially me, I never click sign out on an application. I just close the X tab on the browser. I mean, that's pretty modern experience for most people. I'm also the girl with my banking app. It times me out because I always forget to hit sign out, right? It's a pretty common assumption that most of your users aren't going to click on that little, they're going to just click on the X. They're not going to actually go to the sign out button. So we moved it. And before Pendo, when all this was occurring, we didn't have any data. Our data was around the session expiring, but it didn't tell us if they closed the browser or if they clicked on the sign out button. We didn't have a way to capture that easily without development having to put in a custom event just for that little link on that page. So post Pendo, about 6 months ago or so, I'm looking at the data. And I'm just catching through and looking at it and saying, hold on, wait a minute. Why do we have such an uptick on that clicking on the sign up button with users? Like, it's a significant percentage of users every day. When I think about my platform, I've got about 80,000 people in there every day. They're all clicking the sign out button. Why? Doesn't make sense to me. Well, if we had collaborated better, we would have known. Here's the gotcha. Because of our organization, we love to collaborate, but we fall down on it too. Because we didn't ask enough questions during the design effort and validate it with users, and didn't have the data right off the bat with Pendo that Pendo could bring us, well, we kind of missed a minor detail. Our trainers, who've been training our entire network of providers across the country for many years, they all work in healthcare. And what do you do in healthcare? You always sign out your session. And they have trained them, and they have trained their office staff to do it. And it was like all I can say was like, head on desk moment, right? Like, how could you have missed that key point? Because we didn't collaborate enough on it. And so now we're going to move that forward. We're going to adjust how we're doing. We're going to put a nice little icon on the menu, make it easier for users to get there. Because right now they're getting really annoyed that they have to go into this menu and do it. And they give us a lot of feedback on that. There's a number of things that collaboration enabled us with Pendo, right? As part of our business case and getting approval with our executive team, we also had to establish a true governance structure for Pendo. And this governance structure really goes across the organization. It actually applies for a lot of the things that we're doing as an organization now. It's a great template for what we're doing. And it allows us to have all a voice at the table to talk through what we're trying to do. So whether it's using the guides or whether it's capturing new reports we're going to report out, or whether it's launching polls, this governance structure for us allows us to formalize that collaboration as well. And so that instead of just these IMs and this organic conversation, it's around the formalized projects as well that all go through the governance process. I think the biggest win we've had over the last year is the ability for us to be so nimble. So a lot of you probably have used other analytic tooling. There's one giant I won't mention, but it takes forever. You've got to implement it on each page. It's all custom. Your engineers are the only ones who can do it. Well, that's really difficult for us. Our engineering cycles, we run in 6-week sprints. We are 18 weeks at any given point out to our next release, right? I'm committed for 18 weeks. So right now, I'm planning for a release out in roughly April. Well, if I need to make changes into one of the applications and I need that data today, that's not going to happen. So it's allowing us to change that process. And so when we need to make business decisions that are reliant on the data coming through, and we're getting those channels in from either clients or from other stakeholders across the company, we can collaborate on exactly what we need to do in Pendo to get that data out. So here's another good example. So we spend a lot of time with our clients. It's one of my favorite things to do is to stand before clients and really find out their needs. And I have one client who said, I really need to understand what our network is doing on our branding page. I can't see what they're actually clicking on. I just know that they're hitting the page. And before we had Pendo, it would have taken us 6 weeks to get the custom events in for all of the very public links that should be easily tracked, and some custom reporting that has to go through my enterprise business team to get all the data extracted out of the custom events we're putting into our event management system. So it's going to take 6 to 10 weeks roughly by the time the whole cycle is complete. And so we're talking to my client and my customer success team who are amazing at really distilling down these requests. We just jump into Pendo. I had the data in 2 hours, the report was to the client in 2.5. It was a massive win. For the first time, we were able to nimbly respond to client requests, and we could collaborate with the client on how we're going to move that forward. So now that we're demonstrating that we can now nimbly respond, we can also start implementing additional kinds of reports, additional kinds of services that we can leverage using the tooling. And that only comes from being able to be open and discuss around, okay, before this would have taken a really long time, now we're able to do it much faster. Along with a lot of that, as you can probably see just from the items on the slide, our nimbleness, our able to be rapid is a huge win. And with that, we're able to do so much more. And all of that is really around the feedback we got across the organization. So when we think about the collaboration, it's not even just about getting the new features and functions or the tooling. It was around having the willingness to have that conversation. If you didn't have that conversation, we'd still be using all those spreadsheets and really bad analytics that we were getting. So what's next? I always get this question. People ask me all the time, especially my CSM over at Pendo, what are you guys doing next? How are you guys keep moving this forward? Oh, we've got plans. We've got lots of plans. As you heard this morning, there's a lot of great new things coming out. We're going to be leveraging them. We're doubling down. So our Pendo experience has just started. We really scratched just the surface, right? We are doing basic analytics, some good user feedback. We're doing NPS. We've got guides running. But there's so much more we could be doing. And we are in the weeds talking and collaborating across not just our primary focus within a core application, but across our enterprise. And so in 2 weeks, we're launching into a sister product within our product suite. Another very interesting world, completely different user base that's allowing us, right, to understand those tools. And then we're going to be able to benchmark across our entire ecosystem of products now. Completely different SaaS offerings, but the same fundamental piece of better user data, better user analytics, and be able to really understand how people are leveraging our products. So not only can we understand it, we can make better decisions, but also so that we can up our game and really go to that next level. We're also going to be really understanding all of the data. So you're all Pendo users. You've all in there. There's so much information. We have so much more information as well. We're starting to pull all of those data assets together so we get a full 360 view. So we're using our data that's over in our CRM. We're using the data that's in our event management from the real specific applications that we're working through. And now we're using all of the user journey data that we get through Pendo and pulling together to say, okay, this is what our users are doing. We're moving it forward. So I'm just going to go back one. So when we think about that, we've got a whole big future. So closing thoughts. Collaboration, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. You can't just say, go collaborate. It really is organic to your organization. It's going to be something that you all need to take forward and use your passion for building a really great product. I'm super excited. I'm always jazzed up. I'm really passionate about what I do, but I'm more passionate about talking to my colleagues, talking to my users, talking to my clients, and figuring out what can we do better, right? Where are we falling down, and where are we going to move forward together? right? And by doing that and sharing that experience from each other, you're able to learn. Now, you're not just able to learn just about what you need to do, but also what you should be doing together more, right? And for us, I can tell you, the rallying cry for that cycle of getting approvals was Pendo. I can't tell you how many times I'd be sitting at my desk all day getting IMs, going, hey, can Pendo do this? Yes. Okay, let's put it into that use case. That allowed us to have a rallying cry to say, we need this tooling. This tooling is going to help us do these things, and we can't do it well today. This is why we're going to level up, right? Big thing here, no-brainer. I think the last 18 months have shown all of us that we really do need to invest in our tools and our data. It is the crux of what we need to make better decisions. It's also it's like foundational. It's ground zero for everything you need to learn. You got to use it within your data. Without the data assets and the right data assets, you're gonna make bad decisions. So you need to bring all that together and always back it up, right? It's going to back up your assumptions. It's gonna prove it. It's also gonna support your position and get you the support of your executive team. Big one for me, don't fear change, right? Be the change. It's a little trite, I know, but here's why. It's true. We don't like change. Human beings like, normalcy. You like routine. You like to know exactly from point A to point B. Ask everybody at Pendo who's been helping. I need to know exactly where I need to be with things because this is so out of my element to figure out logistically. I'm a planner. I don't like this. But I also know I need to embrace it and just roll with it. It is innate to what we do. And no matter what we do, change is going to happen. So you have to embrace it. And as always, as a huge advocate for a better product and moving forward and leveling up and figuring out what's next, you need to be that change. You need to advocate hard, use your passion, get everybody at the table and have all those hard conversations, right? And be that change agent. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be really hard. You're going to get a lot of resistance. But if you're able to do it and you get all of the support because people can start to see your vision, it will just move you all forward. And finally, take that time to talk and build relationships. Relationship building right now, really hard to do. A lot of us are still home. A lot of us are on IMs. We're on Zoom. Zoom fatigue is a thing. But take the time to build a relationship. Break down some of those silos that you have between each other or a little bit of that animosity, the little tension between groups. It's natural, but have those open conversations. Do it organically. Mine started with an idea that I really wanted a guided tour. And it turned into the snowball effect, where I had everybody across my entire organization, both within our product division and outside, asking, wait a minute, we have all of these other needs. What can we do together? So by doing that all together, we were able to figure out what we need to do, what was our common goal, and how do we figure out what's next. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great rest of your conference.